This episode is brought to you by Cane's Donuts, celebrating 65 years as the best donuts in Boston. Follow Cane's on Instagram at Cane's_donuts to see why donuts are love.
He said, no, what I'm saying is, it's not the heat that's bothering you, it's the humidity. I said, well, these are my balls. They are sweating. They don't give a shit if it's the heat, the humidity, the jock strap, the underwear, the wedgie, you, me, him. I am sweating my nuts off.
In this episode, I'm talking to the undisputed king of Boston comedy, the legend, Steve Sweeney.
What's the name of your show?
It's the Old Dirty Boston Podcast.
Okay.
I am here with the undisputed king of Boston comedy,
Go ahead.
Steve Sweeney.
Wow. Do you know where that came from?
I don't.
Mike Clark decided, well, we call these comedians, so they all have different things, like Don Gavin's a godfather. And so he figured, what can we call you? Well, why don't we do that?
I agree with that.
It's just a way to get people out.
You are... Steve,
Jason, let me explain something to you. So I don't know how old you are, but I've been doing it longer than you've been alive. You can't compare apples and oranges. Mm-hmm. Don't you agree?
I agree.
So you have observational guys in Boston like Don Gavin, Kenny Rogerson, Mike Donovan. You know those names?
Yeah. So
they observe things and they make comments on them, and they're brilliant at that. So I do more character stuff. So, that's what comedy is. Comedy is just like music or movies. There's all kinds of genres within the genre.
One thing I remember growing up a Catholic, we used to have to listen to the Rosary on the radio when I was a kid. Swear to God, I thought it was a racetrack on outside.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost, amen. The horseman in the field for the start of the fourth race over 1.25 miles. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be the name, thy kingdom come thereof. See biscuit way up in front at the 1/4 mile pole, and the back and chasing them. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou.
Funny, I said to Joe Rogan on his podcast, I said, I just did this to get acting work, and I still am. So Richard Pryor was able to, do you know his work?
Yeah, I've watched a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, so he does things like, he has a dog, and he puts the teeth out, and how do you like these, motherfuckers, and he has his heart talk. So I said, what a brilliant concept, to put a personality to parts of his body, to his animals. And then the grace of his stage persona, it's really like a beautiful thing. I always feel like with really great actors or comedians or singers even, when you're looking at it and you're in this state of relaxation, they have done that to you. They have transmitted what they have, which is like they're having fun, they're relaxed. So therefore, when they are doing that to you, it looks natural, it looks easy. And the ones that make it look easy are actually like the best ones.
These scratch tickets, I swear to God. I'm the only one who goes to grocery stores for groceries anymore. Everybody else, they're all in line.
Let me have 4 lucky 7s, 3 lucky golds, 4 mass millions. What was the number? Did you hear? What was the number? I didn't hear. What was the number? The number. I didn't hear. What was the number?
And even if the guy's from India, he knows it. 323. The one day I don't play, the son of a bitch comes in. Talk about a kick in the nuts.
The thing is, for me, it's really about the podcast. Okay. And I like to tell stories, and I like to help people that maybe can't articulate their stories great. So I grew up here in Somerville. A lot of issues around like drugs, substance abuse.
Okay, but let me interrupt you. Whatever it is that you want to do, there are other people that do it.
Yeah.
I do a one-man show. It's called Townie. We're editing it now. We're going to be pitching it to Netflix and some other plugs. Anyway, it's about growing up in Charlestown. And my brother, who's like the smartest guy I ever knew, he said, you know what's great about this show? Anyone could do it, about their life, And I think that's what it is. When you have a story that connects with other people, they feel like they could do that about their own life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everybody here is just so positive. Like you say to someone, geez, it's a nice day. Yeah, we won't get many more of these. Or you say to someone, geez, it's a nice day. Yeah, well, we waited long enough. ever do this? You go into a store, you say to the guy, geez, it's a nice day. Yeah, outside. I'm inside, asshole. What do you want? The Herald and his crack ticket. Now scroll.
You know, like amazing actor to me was William Seymour Hoffman. You know him?
Mm-hmm.
It's you know, it's in the back of my mind, you know, what their life was. And they, you know, Hemingway ended up killing himself.
Yeah.
Don't you think about that once in a while?
Of course. Does that
Or are you
take
able to-
away from his genius?
Or are you able to separate him from the work?
Well, I'm pretty selfish, so I basically took all the good stuff I could when I read it,
Yeah.
filled it into me, and then let go of, I guess, him as the...
Nope.
I think I let go of the idea of guys like Dylan, and, you know, you get so attached to them as these heroes and icons, but they don't necessarily want to fulfill that for you. And so you recognize that anything that you want fulfilled in your life is only going to happen from me and what I do. And I can't attach myself to them as the model or them as they're not going to do it for me.
But when you read Hemingway, it's got Hemingway written all over it.
Yeah.
So sometimes you think, I went to his house down in Key West. Have you ever done
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
With the cats.
The penny in the pool kind of.
And the cats have extra, not fingers, whatever cats have.
Listen, I grew up a Catholic, which is good. It gives you something to work out the rest of your life. I lost the faith, but I keep the saints. Lose some drugs around the house. You say there's something lost that can't be found. Please, St. Anthony, look around.
I played Lenny in A Mice and Men. Do you know that play?
Yeah.
Lenny's like, tell about the rabbits, George. Yeah, then he was doing that guy. It was a beautiful experience. We did it in schools, and I expected the kids to make fun of Lenny. They identified with Lenny. You know, you have so many wonderful experiences when you do acting or stand-up or whatever. I've been very lucky. It's a curse and a blessing. You get to do what you want, but you get addicted to doing what you want. Like now I'm in a position in my life, I've done everything I want as far as work goes.
Yeah.
But I don't have a pension. I don't have any money. You know, it's I'm not starving. But, you know, there are people that are my age that are retired. They don't have to think about working.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
it was a trade-off. I knew from the beginning I didn't want to do a job I didn't want to do.
Well, how does it make you feel when someone like me says, or when I say, I think that you're just unbelievably talented, and looking at your work, that you should have more success than you have, or you should be in a position.
Well, I take offense to the word success.
Okay. And you know I don't mean it at all.
No, I find that little part of it insulting, but I'll tell you why. Because the first part I'll take, which is great. When I did Rogan's podcast, or Bill Burr's podcast, or Mark Maron, those guys opened for me, whatever. And we went into this in depth, is that I'm very flattered, first of all, because I've worked hard on my craft. So I'm very flattered about that. But then, to be honest with you, when people say, you know, you're not, I feel very successful the way I define it.
Yeah.
The way I define it. And I was like surprised that they even remembered me or whatever. But, you know, I've met people that are very famous and very rich, and they're not necessarily successful depending on how you define it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Typically very unsettled in their minds, very all over the place.
It's very pressure packed, you know. So I'm sure you've met people like that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I've worked for some.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
So I start telling this guy my problems or my issues. He says, maybe you should adopt a pet. So I go across the street. I'm in this kill shelter there, and all these dogs, they're in there like an old Jimmy Cagney movie. I want to get out of here. Come on. I know you don't know who Jimmy Cagney is. I don't give a shit. So I grab one of these dogs. I'm walking out. The woman stops me. She says, listen, I got to tell you, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm telling you, this dog does not like you. I said, that's fine, but he'd rather be with me than be dead, right? Not necessarily. Sometimes an animal would rather perish than go home with a weirdo like you.
You know, it's a very profound thing you can go through just by being alone for a week up. I've been up there many times, and I remember one time I was doing a program that there's a thing called Satnam Fest in the summers, which is in Lennox and everything. So anyway, I was doing a program up there, and I remember it was about the fourth day, and I woke up, and I was totally present. It was It was an unbelievable experience. I felt like, wow, I've never felt this way before. Like I wasn't going anywhere in my mind.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. I did another one down in Rhode Island. It was a Zen retreat, which they call a sesshin. It was like the most brutal thing I ever did. You sit there for like 10 hours and you move. And I had to run out. I bailed. I wasn't ready. And so during the thing, it was all torture. And then I went to the Greyhound bus terminal. I was taking a bus. The bus didn't come for 2 hours. And I just sat there, and I was totally present for 2 hours. And I said, wow, it's kind of like when I got sober. I've been sober coming up on 28 years. I woke up one day, 6 months of being sober, and I said, wow, what is this feeling? And you know what it was, Jason? I was well rested. Imagine that. Imagine not having that feeling of being well rested for all those years.
I am a demotivational speaker. People say to me, how did you get like that? How did you get that self-esteem? It was from my dad. A lot of you dads out there, you have a sticker on your car. My son is an honors student at Middlebury Junior High or some shit like that. My father had a sticker on our car. My son is as thick as shit. There is no precious cargo. Ram this shit box.
When you put cocaine and alcohol in your body, you're always, it's almost like working nights or something, and you're just out of touch, man. You're not connected to your natural rhythms, you know.
What did your mom and dad do?
Wow. My father was an amazing man. He was a longshoreman, but he was also a major in the Army, sort of a hero in World War II. I didn't know this. My mom was just a great mother. 5 kids, that generation. Just the quiet courage of day-to-day life, man.
Were you closer to one than the other?
No, I guess, yeah. Maybe I was closer to my mother, but, you know, my father was raising 5 kids, and it was harder for guys to get closer to them in those days.
Well, stoicism was, you know, the thing. You don't
How
talk
old
about
are you?
feelings. I'm 36.
What's it like for you guys out there now? Do you feel like there's a big difference in the generations?
Yeah, I think that our generation kind of is told and taught that everything's possible and we should go for everything and give everything a shot. And I think that your generation, you guys really had to fight against, like, I don't want to go the straight line. I don't want to get a regular job. I don't want to do that.
I remember when I became an actor in Charlestown, they thought I was gay, man.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
It was really an unusual thing to be. This is the time where I really have to pull back. I've had 4 shows canceled in the last week and a half. People are like panicking out there in a ridiculous way. This is where I get quiet, you know, and I go to the place inside myself that's calm. Mm-hmm. And everything changes, and everything's going to be okay.
You're listening to the Old Dirty Boston podcast.